London Islamic Research Academy.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Viewers and listeners, you are welcome to watch a very special live talk show today, broadcasted by London Islamic Research Academy regarding the massacre of Muslims in Bosnia 25 years back. This is unforgettable history. The word Srebrenica became very popular and very well known across the world because of the massacre happened in few days, took about 8,000 lives in that place under the supervision of United Nations armies in their area. And the innocent Muslims, they lost their lives, they were killed, and the women, they were raped, and the children, they were killed as well. So this is a trauma in the history of Muslim. This is a trauma in the history of humanity. This is a trauma in the history of Europe. Today, we are here to discuss about what happened and could have it been avoided, or what the failure of the global leaderships. So we'll be discussing about all these things today, because we can't just forget what happened. And sometimes we see when something happens to the Muslim, that's not seriously taken, and also the Muslims' lives are sometimes very cheap. So we'll be discussing about these things with the presence of our renowned guests and ex-army generals and officers, and also researchers and human rights activists and charity activists. We have invited some special guests today to join our studio to discuss on this. So without further delay, I would like to introduce our guest and embark on our discussion. If you like this talk show, please share, comment, and also subscribe our YouTube channel. First and foremost, I would like to invite the guest from Bosnia. He is a human rights activist, human liberty activist, and he is involved with humanitarian aid as well. He is settled in Bosnia for a long time, many years. This is our brother Farid Al-Jayad. I would like to welcome him. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam rahmatullah. Nice to
How are you, brother Farid?
Thank you, brother.
Jazakallah khair for joining this talk show. We'll come back to you. We have some other important guests. Inshallah, we'll welcome the guests, then come back to you again, inshallah.
Thank you for having
Brothers
me.
and sisters, we have some other important guests. So we'll be inviting one by one. Our next guest I would like to invite to the studio is Dr. Salman Al-Azmi. And he is a researcher, he's a university professor, he is teaching in Liverpool Hope University, and he has got research, especially presentation of religion in the media. So we'll be listening from him how the Muslim massacres were presented by the global media. So that is Dr. Salman Al-Azmi. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam rahmatullah. How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much, brother Dr. Salman Azmi, for joining us. We'll come back to you after introducing our two more special guests, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Viewers and listeners, we have two army officers, ex-army officers, army generals and army officer. They will be sharing their views, what happened in there. One army general, he was actually present in the time of massacre, and of course another army general, army officer, he has got research about the conflict and all these things. So first of all, I would like to invite Colonel Ashraf Al-Din. He is ex-army officer, and also currently he's the advisor of Policy Research Center in Bangladesh. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair for joining our special live talk show. We'll come back to you after introducing our all guests, inshallah.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
Viewers and listeners, finally, we have got very special guest, and we are very fortunate to get a army general. He is a brigadier general of Bangladesh Army, who was leading Bangladeshi forces in the United Nations peacekeeping team. He's here to share his own experience, what he has seen in there, and his own evaluation as well about the massacre of Muslims. That is Brigadier General Selim Akhtar. Assalamu alaikum. Could you unmute your sound system, please?
Is it all right now?
Yes,
Yeah, it's
yes,
all right.
please.
Thank you. Yes,
How are you?
my name is Salim. I've retired about 15 years ago, but I was there during the war in a place called Bihać from September 94 to November 95. After the Dayton Agreement, we came back.
Okay, thank you very much, General Selim Akhtar. Please bear with us. We'll embark on discussion, inshallah, and then we'll come back to you and we'll be listening from you. And of course, you are the only person in this team who were in there physically and of course with the full capacity in the United Nations peacekeeping team. So this is very important for us, for the listeners to listen from you, inshallah. So we are coming back. Viewers and listeners, this is very, very important talk show today because we have got some very important guests in here to discuss about this. We should be sharing our thoughts and we should be evaluating and examining what happened. And as mankind, we cannot just forget. We cannot afford to forget. As mankind, as Muslim, this is a permanent trauma in the history and the minds of the Muslims. Million Muslims. So we have to know what happened and we have to learn something from the history. So first and foremost, I would like to invite in the conversation our honorable guest, Farid Al-Jayat, and he will be giving us some updates about the latest situation in Bosnia.
First of all, thank you for having me with those honored people. I would like to introduce myself. I am Farid Al-Zayat. I am since this time, since 1992, I am here in Bosnia in a humanitarian mission. Not from this time up till now, of course, but at this time, at the time of the war, the aggression, it was I was engaged in the humanitarian jobs, and of course I have been also here at the time when the massacre had been happened, in 1995, before the end of the war. Situation now in Bosnia is stable. There is before the pandemic, there was so many tourists coming, especially from the Arab world, but also from Europe. Bosnia is a very beautiful country, and as I told you, it's a stable situation. Is stable. There is no clashes. Maybe on the political level, yes, you can find, but in the normal life and in the social life, it's okay. No problem.
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Farid Al-Jayat, for sharing the latest updates of Bosnia, the situation of the Muslim and also other civilians in there. Viewers and listeners will be listening from our honorable guest, the chief guest, who kindly sacrificed his time within a very short notice. He was the witness of so many incidents and also what happened in that time. He will be sharing his own observation and experience and evaluation about the massacre, about Srebrenica today with all of you. Please, if you like, please share with your friends and families. Our honorable guest, Brigadier General Selim Akhtar.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. I hope I'm loud and clear, audible.
Yes.
What I intend to do is cover three basic things. Now, the main thing is, of course, we have to remember about the mass killings and massacres which happened in Srebrenica about this time. So I will start on the first thing with a short brief of the Bosnian conflict for a lot of viewers, just for the general understanding, a very short one. And why the NATO forces or the European forces failed to stop the war, allowed it to go for 5 years, and why did it stop at that point in time when it stopped? A lot of people will not know why it happened. Second is the role of the Bangladesh battalion. We were in a place called Bihać under some very atrocious conditions, very, very difficult conditions. And third is, thing I would like to do is cover the Srebrenica killings. And I have two issues there. Why it happened? Could it be averted? Two issues about Srebrenica. Okay, let me start with the Bosnian conflict. Now, this has to do something with the unfolding of events with the break of the Soviet Union, 89 or around that time, when the Western countries are very keen to see the former Soviet Republic or Warsaw Pact countries and the communist countries to break up as fast as possible. The idea was being strategic interest being to weaken up the Eastern Europe. The Warsaw was a big power, big threat to as they considered. So they were encouraging all nations. If you see about that time, most of the countries were declaring breaking up and independence and switching to democracy. A lot of countries did that. So similar thing has started in Yugoslavia also. And around 91, I guess, the first one to declare independence was probably Slovenia. There were a lot of small states which comprised to make former Yugoslavia. After Slovenia, for a short time, the Yugoslav army troops tried to contain it, but then quickly withdrew after 10 days or so, followed by the declaration of independence in Croatia, which led to some very, very big bitter fighting, especially around Vukovar. A lot of Croats were killed. And then as the Bosnian declared independence in, I think it was in July 92, the war broke out there also. And all right. Now, while Slovenia, Croatia, it was not a serious issue. Slovenians, very easily the war subsided because they were mostly the same ethnic group. What I've learned in Bosnia was, you see, and from history is, people try to project it as a war on religion, making religion as an agenda. That is not the case. You look at Chechnya, you look at any other country in the world where the conflict is going in, it's about ethnic identity. You cannot forget your language, your culture, and your ethnic identity. Bosnia is, I call Bosnia as a kind of a fault line in former Yugoslavian territory, because in Croatia, you have the Catholic Christians, and on the southern side, you have the Serbs. Serbs are Orthodox Christians. So there's a fight during that war. Now, it's not only Christians and Muslims. Serbs, I've seen in my own area in Bihać, I've seen Catholic churches bombed and destroyed by the Serbs. Serbs are Orthodox Christians. So in Croatia, generally it subsided after some time, except for the southern part of Croatia, where the Croat Serbs, they declared themselves as the Republic of Serbs, a small republic, independent republic from a city called Krajina. And Bosnia was something more complex. This is the legacy of the Ottoman Empire, the whole Ottoman Empire. All of you probably are aware that during the 300 years rule or so of the Ottomans, entire southern Europe were under their rule, in influence. Bosnia, if you look, who are the people living in Bosnia? They are Serbs, who are Slavs. They are Orthodox Christians. You have Croats in Mostar and further east up to Splits, mostly. Of course, in other places also, but mostly in around Mostar and further up to the east sea coast. They are Croats. They are Catholic Christians. Serbs who are Banja Luka and whatever around all over the country, majority part of the country now, they are Orthodox Christian, and they've got ethnic identity. Slavs, Croats, Bosnians, Muslims did not have an ethnic identity. They are called Bosniaks based on religion. So this is where I call the fault line because of the legacy of the Ottoman Empire, and we have got certain bad things, just like it happens in India. What happened the Mughals did. So the current events in India are guided by what the Mughals did 300 years ago. So same thing happened in Bosnia. When Milosevic started the war, one of the first things they remembered was the church that was brought down by the Ottomans, which is probably not in Bosnia, it's something out of Bosnia. So that is the conflict. At the time of the war, you had 44% of the population who were Bosnian Muslims. 33% approximately were Serbs, and the rest were Croats and a small community. So while the Muslims were 44%, but Serbs also had a significant presence, 33%. So because with the winning of the elections, they elected a president and they declared independence. To me, that was something they must have done it because Europeans were, encouraging people to do that, to declare independence, to break away from the former communist countries. Because within very short time, the Bosnia was recognized by European Union. Why would they recognize it? Because they wanted people to become independent, break away from the former communist countries. Now, that was the start of the war, because the Serbs, as the war started, and then I believe people in Europe, without mentioning any countries, realized that we cannot be having a Muslim majority state in the heartland of Europe. The map is not what we want to see. And there were a lot of talks and papers going around. How can you break it up into cantons? There was a plan once to break it up into 10 cantons, Serbs, Muslims, Croats, and all that. So you have a mixed community there. Now, then I come to the next point, why the Bangladesh battalion ended up there and where it was. Now, when the war started, continued for almost 3 years, initially it was basically a NATO operation, but the NATO forces were also being stretched for the limits for doing all these things. So they got the UN involved and they needed a coverage. When the UN got involved, you'd be surprised, many of you will be surprised. Actually, we never had a peacekeeping mandate in Bosnia. The only thing we operated under was because the big powers, the 5 powers who decide things at the UN General Assembly, they could not agree to a peacekeeping mandate in Bosnia. What we were operating against was UN forces like us were there just to provide escort, humanitarian, UNHCR convoys. That was the only thing, and monitor the situation. And in between came up other smaller things. We used our resources and efforts to control as much as possible. So Bangladesh Battalion was first picked up in '93. I went there for reconnaissance. I remember I went around in Bihać and all those places. But when we came back, the place was, at that time, there was a French battalion there. Now, French battalion had spent a lot of time. They had replaced 2 or 3 battalions, one after every 6 months, and they wanted to get out. NATO could not find another European battalion to go into Bihać. Now, and in '93, our deployment was put off that no, a Muslim battalion cannot come into Bihać. They might go into central Bosnia, but not here, which was correct in a sense, because if you put a Muslim battalion into a Muslim enclave, there can be misunderstandings and a lot of other issues. For people who are new to the situation, as the fighting continued in Bosnia, Muslims were pushed into small places, like in central Bosnia, very small, long stretch of land from the seacoast right up to Tuzla and further up. The lower portion is went in control of the Croat forces, Mostar and down, and Muslims were up in the north. And there were small enclaves. Muslims were pushed into very small area surrounded by the Serbs. Like I was in Bihać. Then there was a place called Zefa, south of Sarajevo, east of Sarajevo, which was under the Ukraine battalion under peacekeeping. Very quietly, it was run over by the Serbs. Nobody talked about it. We don't know what happened there, but the Ukraine battalion was there. Then there was another at Gorazde, where south of Sarajevo, very close to Sarajevo. The British battalion was there. That came under attack. All this happened before Srebrenica. The British battalion actually lost half the territory, but managed to stabilize and hold the situation. So Gorazde was saved. Then Tuzla, I think Pak battalion was there, but it was very next to the central Bosnian territory, so that held out to here. Before Miladic attacked Srebrenica, actually he did try to run over Bihać also. He attacked Bihać twice, where I was there. Once from the east and once in the south on the high mountains. But both times he failed. Actually, he came close to getting caught also being a POW, because I know that I've seen some of the documents of his personal documents, which were captured by the Bosnian force at that time. So he did try to take over Bihać.
General Selim Akhtar, I have a question in the middle, and that's the question, of course, from the viewers as well. So as you said, in Bihać, they tried to attack and of course kill the Muslims. And did you confront directly with them, and how you tackle the situation?
All right, they attacked on small skirmishes all the time, but main attack, just like they attacked Srebrenica, they attacked Gorazde, they attacked Bihać from the east. But Their main attack failed because the Bosnian Muslim forces, 5 Corps, General Atif Dudakovic was there. When they had good intelligence, they knew the Serbs are building up. So they had already amassed to move their forces there in that line, and they managed to repel them. That's where actually Mladic lost his personal diary and few other things, which tells me that he came very close to being killed or becoming a POW there. But so I saw the diary with the 5th Corps people. Then sometime later, very close, he attacked in the south, very high mountains south of Bihać city. Our job was there to make sure that Bihać city does not fall, keep the UN flying and turn it into a safe zone. We deployed, and Bihać hospital was very important because all the war wounded were coming to Bihać hospital, the only place where they could be treated. Well, I can't share photographs with you now because we had deployed in that cold winter without enough fuel to heat right around the Bihać hospital to protect Bihać hospital, Bihać city, and all that. And we were set up at the trigger that the Serbs were trying to fire the hospital, run over the hospital. The message given to them: you attack a UN APC, you kill one of the soldiers. That's a trigger to get the air attack on you. So they were also cautious not to get the NATO air attacks on. So multiple ways we showed our presence, physical presence in multiple places where we thought that they can come in. So that's how I think the Bihać got saved. But the credit goes to the Bosnian Muslim, Bosnian 5th Corps army. They did a wonderful thing they fought for their country. They were saving their land. These are the only place in 5 years war where the 5th Corps captured land after land, few hundred kilometers in the south towards October, November 95, October. Nowhere else probably the Bosnian forces had that kind of victory. But anyway, its credit goes to the Bosnian forces who fought there. Now, let me quickly jump to why Srebrenica thing happened, because it's linked to why the war continued for 5 years. European nations, without naming anybody, any particular country, I could very feel there's an agenda. You see, the UN, in a situation like that, there's a global agenda which they are trying to play out there. UN is just being used as a cover-up. I'm sorry, I'm very vocal about many things. I have to be upright and tell you the facts. And
I think there are some research and findings about this as well.
Well, I'm not going into the detailed specifics. So they then very clearly statements: we cannot see a Muslim majority state at the backyard or in the heartland of Europe. So multiple theories came up, and 2 countries specifically, I don't know name them, the leading countries there. And Americans were kept out of most of our meetings. In fact, in some of my briefings, the American was not even allowed to attend those meetings. So my meetings were, most of the top-level briefings were in Zagreb in the forces headquarters. And I could very clearly read between the lines about what's happening. They want the war to continue till a point where the Muslims are no more in control of the majority area which they were holding at the time of independence, when they declared independence. So if you look at the map now, Muslims are holding actually a very small piece of land. So never ever they will get into a majority-led country. So, and the arrangement is Republic of Srpska, Bosnia, Muslims, and the Croatians have a rotating presidency. Mr. Farid can correct me if I'm wrong. So the moment that happened, Americans wanted to start the air campaign much earlier. I give you a very small example how the forces where UN is being used as a cover to run your own agenda. When Sarajevo was under that intense snapping and attack, and there was a lot of pressure from NATO forces, NATO air cover to come in. You know what was the target given by the UNPROFOR headquarters to a NATO aircraft? A lone abandoned Serbian tank, abandoned tank, which is already destroyed by the war, lying on a hill slope, and the F-16 came and hit that tank. I mean, that's a joke. I mean, people were laughing. Whom are you trying to fool there? So
absolutely.
Let me jump to the why Srebrenica and why it happened. So Mladic had already tried he had tried in Gorazd there. He failed. The British battalion held up. Zefa, they successfully removed the Ukrainians, took over. So in Bihać, they tried twice, came close to being captured, or they lost with heavy casualties. They pulled out. So they went for Srebrenica. Now, you see, until now, the air attack, NATO air attack is being held back. They are not being allowed to come in, right? When the Srebrenica thing happened, if I'm in command of that environment, if I'm the commander and my task was to save the people, I should have called an air attack. It was so easy for NATO air to hold up this Serbian air attack, Serbian ground attack on Srebrenica. Why didn't it happen? because you didn't want it to happen. You wanted the map to change. I would not, a lot of people blame the Dutch battalion. I will not blame the Dutch battalion. It's not their fault, because the Dutch commander must have read into the environment there, the command environment there, that they want it to happen. They quietly will take over, and it will no more be a Muslim majority state. So you are actually changing the map there. So you allowed it to happen. The moment they achieved that map objective, you see the air campaign started, and the Serbs had to agree to everything, and the war stopped. So the simple answer is, Bihać could have been another Srebrenica story. Luckily, it didn't happen. We were there. I was told to pull out. I was told to pull out and be replaced by a NATO battalion. I refused. I said, no, I'm not going out unless my country tells me. Why should I get out? I would have been put. I'm not moving out. In Srebrenica, the moment they achieved the political objective, the air campaign started, NATO air campaign started, and the war ended. So all this could have been averted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have allocated adequate time for you to hear what you have seen, and you are the eyewitness of many incidents. And what we learned from your statement, actually, there was a gross negligence, and in some research, the researchers are blaming the United Nations of having a kind of agenda.
Not United Nations. United Nations is just a scapegoat. It is a European agenda, not European.
Yes. Yes, European agenda to remove the existence of the Muslim from that land. So, which is very, very
unfortunate. Which they got. They wanted a map which you now have. The Muslims are there. You have a new country, but it's no more a Muslim country. Exactly. It's majority of the area is under physical occupation of the Serbs, the Bosnian Serbs. Then a significant part with the Croats. The Bosnians are tucked up in the middle with no access to the sea. The port of Split is with the Croats. So you achieved your political or the strategic agenda or objective. You have a map you wanted. If you already have the Muslims with totally sized down, can do nothing in future. Okay, now recognize them. Finish the war.
Exactly. You are absolutely right, because some of the areas where the Muslim population was about 100%, and some areas it became down to 20%, 30%, and in some areas even it's 0%. Muslim population, which is very, very unfortunate. Thank you very much for your statement about the incident. So we'll go back to Colonel Ashraf al-Din, because what we have found from the statement from Brigadier General Selim Akhtar, there is a pre-plan from the European Union what happened, and of course that's his own observation as statesman, and there's some
I could be wrong.
Yes, this is of course, and there are some findings from the historians as well, those who are now evaluating and examining the situation. Colonel Ashraf, could you share your feeling about the minorities in different parts of the world where they are very, very vulnerable and they are unsafe? Is it acceptable? What's your feeling about this?
Okay, it's a nice question, very relevant question. But before going to answer your question, let me say a few words about the Bangladesh battalion, which was commanded by the then Colonel Selim Akhtar. He could not really enumerate everything because there are a lot of stories. You will be surprised. He is senior to us. He came back from, after liberation of Bangladesh, he came back as a junior officer from Pakistan, a very talented officer. You will find him very short stature, but in his chest, he holds a lion heart. Why do I say that? You will be surprised. The Bangladesh battalion in Bihać was blocked. The supply was blocked for 10 weeks. And he, with his statement, he gave an interview with the ABC News of USA, and he just, in his interview, he said, UN is a what? A racist organization.
Racist organization.
He did not bother about becoming targeted by others, not getting promotion. No. So actually, he is a very talented officer. He was an instructor in our staff college. He had been the commandant of our Bangladesh Military Academy. He had command experiences, and he was personally known by the British commander, General Rose. He used to know his nerve. So, but even then, he did not give any extra, leave the ground for anyone. Bangladesh people were very stubborn, without any APC, without any modern equipment. They were holding the ground like the tigers. So it was a wonderful job done, alhamdulillah. But the question is, how many times we will be talking like this, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, when our people are gone, people are killed, people are massacred, like in Srebrenica, in July 10 and 11 of 1995, 8,372 people means men and boys, were killed. This is not a joke. The whole world knows. And everybody was saying, sorry, okay. But after just 22 years, now again, same thing has happened in Arakan. And let me tell you, within very short time, same thing is going to be repeated in Kashmir. Because people have forgotten. People have forgotten what is Kashmir, what is Rohingya problem. Like let me tell you one thing. And
Palestine as well. I think you can add Palestine as well.
Palestine is a forgotten thing. It is a open and then now they have already wiped out the Palestinian map from the world map. See, so now what is happening? Actually, he's a general is here. He's a teacher. Let me tell you one thing. In army, after any situation, we go for analysis. Before going to a war or before going to taking any decision, we study the thing, study the map, study the ground, study the situation, study our strength, study enemy's strength. We call it appreciation. You got to do appreciation sincerely. This military appreciation, but for everything, for every strategic thing. We had been studying in Hawaii the non-fighting war. Actually, for war, you don't have to fight. I'm not talking about fighting. What I'm talking that the preparedness. So if you have to take a preparation for future, you have to appreciate the situations. You have to appreciate the situation, study the whole thing. As you were telling, the researchers are saying, research is not enough. After that, you find out, you come to certain conclusions. With those conclusions, you make a plan. There will be plan, short-term plan, long-term plan, mid-term plan. And for executing those plans, you have to be really stubborn. You have to be determined. Now let's come to this. Who are going to do these things? The Muslims. Muslims in the world are getting beaten everywhere. You can see Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. They declared after the breakup of Soviet Union. They declared independence. Yeah, and America said, good, wonderful. The Russian tank came out on the street, but they stopped firing a single bullet. All these three states became independent. But the moment the Chechnya declared, now the whole world, including Russia, was against them. The whole country, including Grozny, was turned into garbage. And the world did not really bother about it. You think about East Timor. East Timor is a place, just because it is part of a Muslim country, Indonesia, Australia mobilized its forces and came to their rescue. Whereas this country is such that they do not have any capacity of remaining as an independent country. Just because they are Christians, they are not Muslims. And this is part of a Muslim country. So others came up. Basically, you got to study the whole thing. Everywhere it is happening, every time it is happening, we have got our own problem. We got to understand it. Number one, we are not really taking correct decisions. We don't have any study. We don't study. What we are doing, we are going to the scripts. We are going to Quran, we are going to Hadith, and for everything we are trying to find out some solution from Quran. But you are not really going for research, going for study. I'm not talking against the scripts. What I'm saying, you are far away from the modern education. You are far away from technology. You are far away from studies. You are studying medicine. whereas you are giving some decisions about medicine, and this is nonsense. We have to
Islam actually, I'm just adding, as you said, always we try to find solution from Quran and Hadith. Of course, we have to refer to Quran and Hadith. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, فَاعْتَبِرُوا يَا أُولِي الْأَبْصَارِ فَاعْتَبِرُوا يَا أُولِي الْأَبْصَارِ. So we have to think, we have to do research, all these things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, not blindly just saying, Alhamdulillah, what happened is happened.
All right. So
yes,
what I'm saying is, actually, this is a long discussion. What I'll say is, we got to appreciate the situations. It is not only Srebrenica killing. There are a lot of other situations around the world. All these situations you got to study, find out, and go for solution. The number one thing is the unity of the ummah. Now, I have got problem with the word ummah also. The first thing is, to have unity, you have to have your own self-identity. What is your identity? 1.5 billion Muslims around the world. Now, actually, how many are Muslims? If you say that you are not a practicing Muslim, and practicing and non-practicing, then I am not with you. You got to be a soldier first. You got to form an army, and then you will march forward. You got to be a Muslim first. You have to have your identity. You have to have your study, your education, and going forward. Islam per se is not a religion of terrorism. It is always for education, for development, for peace, for giving shelter to others, because Allah Himself has given this book for the benefit of the people. The Prophet ﷺ came for the benefit of the people. But now, what we Muslims have done, we have made it for us only. And seeing our behavior, some people are panicked. We are saying that, oh, we are within short time, there will be something like Dajjal and something like Imam Mahdi, and we are going to become powerful. On basis of what? On the basis of what you are going to become powerful? People are panicked. Stop saying these things. You say that actually in Islam, there is no measure of fear. There is no steps of doing fear. Even if you are defeating some people in the war, after the war, you can't really do injustice to a prisoner of war. This is what
even during the wartime, the children, the women, the elderly people, they should not be attacked. That's the teaching of Islam.
So what I'm saying is, we got to really focus on these things. We got to empower ourselves. What is empowerment? I'm not talking about making war. I'm talking about, first, you know your history, you go for education, your development, and technological development, economic empowerment. But we have got our own problems. Today, I was talking to a professor of Sri Lanka. You will be surprised. He was telling me that in our country, we are only 9-10% Muslims, but within ourselves, we have got 6-7 groups. They do not agree to anything. The Muslims in Sri Lanka. Think about Bangladesh. Think about India. Now you are talking about Ummah. Which Ummah? 57 countries, Muslim countries of the world. A single country cannot sit together under a single roof. Then what? So that's why we got to first. Let's not. We are going for lies, and people are misunderstanding us. Muslims are good people. Islam is for anything good in the world. Whereas in Bosnia-Herzegovina, people got killed just because their name is Muslim. Brother Farid will bear me out. I have read a book written by Abdul Razak Heknovic. He has written, I was just like any other person. I was not a serious Muslim. What serious Muslim? He did not offer prayer. He went for the liquor. He went for women. So anything he has done. But since his name is Abdul Razak, he was not only punished, he was on the brink of, and his whole family was destroyed. True. So today, the Muslims around the world should choose. They want to live as a Muslim with identity, with education, with empowerment, or they want to go to the grave and go to Jannah and not caring about this world. Because
thank you very much.
So that's why what I will say is, in a nutshell, as a matter of fact, we got to go for education. We got to go for research and development. We got to go for living peacefully together with everybody in harmony, not creating panic. Giving them an idea that look at this Muslim, he is a beneficial member of the society. There is nothing to hide for us, neither in Quran nor in the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So today, if we are remembering Srebrenica killing, we got to find out what will be our future step, what will be our training and planning for our future generations.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Beautiful contribution from Colonel Ashraf Al-Din. Viewers and listeners, we have been listening about Srebrenica, what happened in there. We heard from Brigadier General Selim Akhtar, and also we heard from Brother Farid from Bosnia, and also we heard from Ashraf Al-Din about what we should be doing now. What we have lost is lost, but we have to plan something for the future so that we can protect ourselves, we can protect the mankind, and we have a beautiful world. We have seen there is a biased role of the media where they are always highlighting the Muslim as terrorist, and also when any massacre happens with the Muslims, that is not presented properly in the media, through the media. So we have Professor Dr. Salman Azmi. He is the researcher and professor of Liverpool Hope University. He's joining us, and his specialization is religion in the media. He has done so many research, and I have participated some of his research workshops. So we'll be listening from him about the role of media in bringing peace. Dr. Salman Azmi, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for inviting me to talk on this, on the 25th anniversary of the tragic incident that happened in Srebrenica. I'm truly enlightened by the talk of the Brigadier General Selim Akhtar, who gave us a very short but very informative account of what happened. And I'm also feeling proud that our Bangladeshi contingent in that region played a very significant role. And despite all the challenges they faced, alhamdulillah, they defended the region they were supposed to defend. Before I talk about the media, I just wanted to tell one or two points about my personal connection with Bosnia. I was a student of Aligarh Muslim University, and I had a very close friend in my university who was from Bosnia, and he traveled to Bangladesh with me in 1993 at the time of the peak of the Bosnian War, and he told stories. He visited several places in Bangladesh and told the stories of what was happening at that particular time. And incidentally, a few years, a decade down the road, one of my nieces got married to a young Bosnian. So I have a relative also from Bosnia. So I hear a lot about those issues. But my short discussion here will be about the media. And as Brother Kabir, you mentioned about why the media is not highlighting these, or why the media is, not projecting this massacre as much as they should have, is obvious. When we talk about the media representation, media is who are the people who work in the media institutions? What are those institutions? So what we talk about media, we have to think about the news values that they represent, the news ideologies that they represent. Now, the popular ideology and popular value within the Western media is that Muslims are the perpetrators of crimes. Muslims are the ones who commit crimes. So it is a bit counterproductive from their ideological perspective to say that Muslims are the victims. It's not that they are not highlighting this at all. I mean, in the UK, particularly in the BBC, they have been covering this for a few days about the 25th anniversary of the Srebrenica massacre, and every year I also watch some TV programs, some TV documentaries on the BBC on Srebrenica. So it would be disingenuous to say that they don't cover it at all. But the highlighting the Muslim massacre is not within their narrative or the ideological narrative or the news values that they represent. We must remember that these are institutions, these are business organizations. Most of the media outlets are business organizations run by powerful media conglomerates, powerful media tycoons. For example, Rupert Murdoch, we all know his name. He covers around 40% of the British media. And what is his ideology? We know that. He's the proprietor of the Fox News channel in the USA, and Fox News is, unashamedly right-wing media institution. So we, as Colonel Ashraf al-Din was suggesting about where we Muslims are being affected from every corner. Now, politically we are affected, and of course, from the media perspective, we are very much affected. And we Muslims never engage with the media. So I will want to conclude my discussion on this aspect, that we think that media is an institution. For example, if you are a practicing Muslim, media is some sort of a haram thing. Be as far as possible from media. Don't engage with it. Don't want to know what they're doing. We are unaware what they're doing. So a small, and that's why when we talk about that in research or in some discussions, it is that we are now in the midst of the Black Lives Matter. Yes, it's a very important topic, Black Lives Matter. All lives matter, only Muslim lives don't matter. That's what we see in the media, in the way things are presented. So we talk about Islamic State or terrorists, or who are the victims of the terrorism? 90% or more are Muslim victims of all the terrorism that are committed in the name of Islam.
Brother Dr. Salman, I've got a question in here. Of course, you are doing lots of research about the representation of religion, especially Muslim religion, in the media. But I've seen if any incident happens and if that is done by a Muslim, the whole Muslim community is blamed, Muslim terrorist. Whereas if something happened by a non-Muslim or the individual belongs to other faith, it's not actually portrayed like this, or Christian terrorists done this. So where is the way out?
Well, the way out is engagement, and I can say that I am involved in a couple of projects with the Muslim Council of Britain, where we are trying to engage with the media, and particularly in terms of the language and terminologies they use while representing Islam and Muslims, and trying to say that these are problematic. Why do you have to use the name Islamic State, not Daesh? Why do you have to use that term Islam? Why do you have to use the term Islamic terrorism or Islamic extremism or jihadist or Islamist? So these terminologies are problematic. And what the media tells us, or when the MCB is engaging with them, the media says that we don't have alternatives. So we are trying to work, and engage with the media and try to help them. We have to understand that not everyone is Islamophobic in the Western media. So we should not think in that way. There are Islamophobes. There are people who are working with a very ulterior motive, but there are people who are genuine journalists and who need help, support. So we are engaging, and I think that needs to be done everywhere. We need to engage with the media, and we Muslims have to do more research on media to develop this content.
I have a point to add to this media matter.
Sure, please. Colonel Ashraf al-Din, please.
Thing is that wonderful. Brother Dr. Salman Azami has given wonderful account. The question is, who will cry for me? My mother. Why I am expecting that somebody else's mother will behave with me like my mother? That is a problem. My quick solution is, in Islam, you always say, you do this thing, you get so much of reward. You do this thing, you will get so much of reward. Today you start, you means the alims. Let them start saying, if you are working as a reporter, for every column you will get so much of reward. If you are doing a research, if you find out some medicine, it will be a sadaqah zariya, endless. You are not saying that. You are saying, ye dunya, 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 leave it. And you are not going into it. And why you are blaming, why should I blame others, those who are doing it? You must be knowing this story. The Reuter, he was a young boy, a young village boy in the First World War. He used to collect a story from one village of bombing and give it to the newspaper, used to get only for 25 dimes. And by the time of Second World War, now he has a network of collection of collecting the news, and he became rich. He continuously, if he has started that time, and still the Reuters exists, Reuters will be dominating who else? Now that's why I'm saying, as a matter of fact, what we are not doing, like the one it is said that the most of the cases that Daesh, the Muslims have killed, all these terrorists have killed maximum Muslims. Whose research is this? Please find that out. Not Muslims, because
Exactly.
Muslims are in the masjid doing tasbih, and you want to go to the Jannah, and that's all. That's
Absolutely.
what
I think the message is very clear. We have to shorten our program because normally we do 1 hour. It's almost 1 hour anyway, and we have to listen more from our guest. And Brother Farid is sitting in Bosnia. We'll be hearing something from him now. Brother Farid, do you feel unsafe anymore? Do you think in the future the Muslims are not safe in there? What do you think? Unmute, please. If you can unmute your. Okay, just. Yeah, you are unmuted. Yes.
Yeah,
I can hear you.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. Muslims are safe. All people in Bosnia and Herzegovina are safe, Muslims or non-Muslims. Muslims in the Serb entity, Serb entity in Bosnia, or Serbs in the Federation entity in Bosnia, the Bosniak Croat entity. Bosnia is safe place for its people, and also even for visitors or tourists who comes from the Arab area with their hijab and with their traditional.
This time we will also come, inshallah.
You are welcome. You are very welcome, Colonel.
Okay.
What I would like to make some focus in.
Yes.
After the great speech of Brigadier General and from Colonel Ashraf, that Bosnia before Srebrenica, or at the end of '93, it has been and after instructions from the United Nations, it has been announced that 10 places have to be demilitarized, means to be without weapons in the hand of those people who have to defend themselves. Demilitarization, is it like this?
The demilitarization.
Yes. It was 10 zones, as General Brigadier Mr. Salim have said, and unfortunately they have collected all kinds, which was so few, all kinds of weapons which Muslims have to defend themselves, and they told them that we are going to protect you. This is a shame what had happened, because I don't remember that a single one of these 10 safe zones, which have to be under the protection of the United Nations forces. Here I don't think that one single one single zone of this didn't been shelled, and so many civilians have been killed and so on. And this is it was something which nobody cannot understand. And Srebrenica was that place which have been the main and the big massacre which have been happening. We all listened to to Colonel Ashraf and Brigadier Salim when he told that Bihać have been shelled, and he have been acted in the powerful which he had there, and I think he succeeded. But unfortunately, the other countries from the European, unfortunately, community, some of them have been engaged in some help for the aggression forces, and some of them have been, unfortunately, some relations, and they have been participated in raping Muslim women, unfortunately, women, and also the Hollandian battalion. He have nothing. He didn't do anything to protect his zone, because the Hollandian battalion was responsible for the zone of Srebrenica, and as we say, as we know, all of us, that during 6 or 7 days, more than 8,372 innocent people have been killed.
Brother Farid, I have a question for you.
Please.
About 30,000 people are still missing. They could not find any clue. So what is happening to the families of those people? Do you know any family like this? Those who lost their family members and could not find any clue where are they and where they were buried, or any information?
Yes, unfortunately, I know. Me myself, I know some of them. And what is the problem, Mr. Kabiruddin? The Serbs whom have been made these massacres, they have tried to sacrifice their crimes, and they transferred they have buried again the graves which have been which those Muslims have been buried on it, and they transferred it for so many locations. So there is so many these graves which have been transferred for so many places. That's why a big percentage of people are still missing out up to now.
Okay, thank you very much. We go back to Brigadier General Salim Akhtar.
Just 1 minute.
Sorry.
On this, I can give you the account. So far, 6,643 dead bodies could be recognized and buried, and tall white tombstones have been put. Very recently, now they have got another 9, but around 2,000 dead bodies still could not be found and could not be separated in the mass graves or in the places where it got mixed up.
This is
Okay,
because
thank you very much for your,
yeah,
thank you very much for your additional information. Brigadier General Salim Akhtar, is it a fault to be a Muslim or living in a Muslim village?
Yes.
As you mentioned, sometimes if you are Muslim, you feel sometimes, even we have seen in some places, even in the UK, where the Muslim population is very small, or children, they're going to school, white dominated school, they feel, the Muslim children, they feel inferior, and they feel they are very weak and undermined. So in your army life, have you experienced anything in the international army troops as Muslim, you
my,
are undefined.
my experience is just the opposite. The problem with Muslims, I heard about you guys, you people talking about the media. The problem with the media and whatever you told me now about your Muslim kids and people feel a little inferior. That is where the problem with the Muslims. They themselves feel themselves to be inferior in many ways and step back. Media was so hostile when we went in there, because simply 1 month after we went in September 94, in October, probably in October 94, Fifth Corps broke out of that area. And actually the only place in Bosnia during the war, the Serbs were on the run and Muslims were, Fifth Corps was chasing them, captured tanks and guns and everything. Entire Western media was after me and my soldiers, that you guys have created something there. But I did not sit back. At that point in the culture in the Bangladesh army at that point was, don't talk to the media, don't talk to the media, right? That was the culture. You have to take permission. I said, look, I don't care about taking permission. It's my problem. I've got to resolve it. I don't take anybody's permission. I gave so many media interviews and so vocal, so strongly. I was on Sky TV, I was on BBC, I was on ABC. You must have heard about Peter Jennings show in the ABC USA. I've done Philadelphia Times. That's where I said, UN, you are a racist organization. In LA Times. That was in LA Times. And then somebody called me. The UN was very upset. What's wrong with this colonel? He's very upset. So they're one of the media people contacted me. And I was afraid. No, I was not afraid. I told them, look, my battalion has been blocked with supplies for 10 weeks, nearly 8 to 10 weeks about now. You think because I'm an Asian, you can get away with it. So you guys were kept quiet, right? You will not talk about it in the media also. Because if a NATO battalion was stuck in my position, it would not be stuck for more than 2 weeks. You would have broken the blockade, served blockade, and would have ensured the supplies don't go. I was vocal, aggressive, talking to all media. And the media was so keen to, a point came, they were actually asking time for me. When I would come out to Zagreb, they would be waiting in the lobby to talk to me. So you have to learn to talk to the media. You have to, because I had to get on the aggressive mode with the media to prove that we are not part of it. We don't give our weapons. We don't, every bullet and every weapon is accounted for. That's one thing. The second thing you talked about in the Britain, the kids and all, because of parenting, you as parents, you are bringing up your children to be, very, very docile and feel small about himself. In Bihar, when I was there, I can say the Europeans were more scared of talking to me about anything, because they had to think twice before they told me anything. They know I would hit back and I would be very vocal, and I will even to do what they want me to do. Like I was told, you can leave Bihar city and hand over to such and such battalion, which is one of the NATO battalions, white battalions. I said, sorry, I'm not doing it. They won't dare to do things with me. Do you have the knowledge and the communication skills to talk to the media? That's where is the issue with the Muslim people. They don't have the skills. They're shy. They don't want to talk, and they want to. They're not blunt in telling calling a spade. In the world. So,
exactly. Dr. Salman, beautiful, Brigadier General Selim Akhtar. Beautiful to hear from you. Actually, we are running out of time.
Your parenthood is the problem. Your parenthood is the problem.
Exactly. We need some generals in every house to encourage our children. General, mentally they should be like generals like yourself. Dr. Salma, would you like to add anything about having courage, taking part in the medias, and of course everywhere standing firm?
Yes,
shortly, please.
I mean, this is a very pertinent point that the Brigadier General raised. I mean, I think when I teach in a university. Well, I teach at a British university where 95% of my students are white English. But I tell them that I'm unashamedly proud British Bangladeshi Muslim. I have 3 identities, no conflict between each of them. I'm proud British, I'm proud Bangladeshi, I'm a proud Muslim. And if you ask me about my 3 identities, number 1 comes Muslim, number 2 Bangladeshi, number 3 British. And I'm not ashamed about it. And I tell my children, when they go to school, be proud of your identity. And if you are not proud of your identity, the issue that you were raising, Kabir, in terms of children going and having that inferiority complex, is about the identity. You have to be proud of your identity, and if you don't, exactly, then you can't face it. Secondly, in terms of the media, as I was saying, if we don't engage with the media, then media will always be behind us, and they will catch us. While Brigadier Selim Akhtar did just opposite. He was vocal. He was proud of what he was doing. And because he was not in the wrong side, so he had that confidence to speak in that way. So we Muslims have to counter that. We have to say we are not doing anything wrong. So we should not be subservient. We should not be accepting people's aggression towards us. We have not done anything wrong, so we have to be confident.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll be taking final message in 1 minute from each guest because we have to finish the program. So first of all, Brother Farid Al-Jayat, what's your final message, please, in 1 minute? Your mic, okay. Mic got mute, I think, yeah. So please.
Yeah, my final message is Srebrenica is have to be a lesson for us. We are not allowed to let such like this massacre happen again anywhere against any kind of nation or people, even not people. We have to be proud that our Islam is forcing us and encouraging us to be always with the rights, always with the fair cases, and always on the right side, on the side which is serving the human rights of the people and their dignity and so on.
Thank you very much. We'll be hearing last message from Colonel Ashraf Al-Din. Please, 1 minute.
Okay, thank you very much for whatever I have said. The first thing, let's remember one thing. In the whole world, there are too many good people. The world is full of good people only. And bad people, the haters, the terrorists, the bad people are very few. The problem is, the good people, they do not do what they are supposed to do. They do not stop the bad people. They run away from the crisis, and the bad people, though they are very less in number, they dominate the field.
Absolutely.
And for Muslims, I will say, giving back to the life that you are enjoying is not a good way. You will not go for technology, but you will enjoy every benefit of technology. How can you claim that you are a good Muslim? You got to contribute to the technology and development and research. That's what we are not doing. Traditionally, we are trying to think that in dunya, spending time is a loss. Please turn around and give value to life, this life, and the life hereafter. And
thank you very much.
Life, we are bearer of the peace, and for life hereafter, we will be rewarded. So
fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Colonel Ashraf Al-Din, will be hearing the last message from Dr. Salman, please. 1 minute.
Okay, I want to talk from the historical perspective in just 1 minute. I was just having a discussion with my daughter. She's 18 now, but she's saying that when she was in year 9, they were talking about genocide, and they would say that, we have to learn from Holocaust so that genocide, that these types of genocides don't happen anymore. But now she realizes that there are genocides happening everywhere, but the history of genocide stops at Holocaust. So that is the history lesson that is covered in the Western world. Also in the Muslim world, how much we are informed about the genocide. Even what's happening in Kashmir is in terms of from the United Nations is a type of genocide. They have categorized it in a genocide watch list or something like that. So Rohingya and all this. So the history of genocide and what's happening and what lessons can be learned. It is a universal thing that history lessons have to cover, and young children have to know about these things.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We'll be getting the final message from Brigadier General Selim Akhtar, please.
During the conversation, I heard some references to the Rohingyas. Maybe some other day. I happen to be a person with some expertise on the Rohingyas because I lived in Burma for 3 years with the High Commission. I've dealt with the problems, issues there. I've traveled in that Rohingya area quite a lot from both sides of the border, from Bangladesh side of the border and also from the Myanmar side of the border. So some other day we'll talk about it. The final message about this Bosnian conflict is, please don't get swayed away just on religious things. Learn to face the facts of life. Tell your children to be a good human being first, and then anything else. Tell him to stand up if you're true, correct, stand up and learn to say no. The Bosnian conflict has ended up, you see, it's a grand strategic plan. They wanted to break up the former communist countries, no threat from the break up the Soviet Union bloc, which was happening. All the big, Yugoslavia was a big military power. Break it up into 6 different states. All the way okay. The Bosnia was a problem with the majority area under occupation were the Muslims. They have brought it down to size to a level where there are 3 different ethnic identities. Nobody is in control. Srpska, Republic of Srpska, the Croatians, Bosnian Croatians, and the Bosnian Muslim rotating presidency. So you have a country fully independent, but actually they're toothless. They have no one community can say that we can run the agenda. They have achieved, the Europeans have achieved their strategic agenda, and they've ended the war. So please try to bring up your children to be good human beings first. Speak the truth. Have the courage to speak the truth.
Thank you very much. Beautiful, beautiful. Viewers and listeners who have been listening, the comments and remarks and the findings from our honorable guest researchers and army generals regarding the massacre in Bosnia. What are the findings from this conversation? So number 1 is what happened is completely unacceptable. What happened in Bosnia, we cannot accept this. The mankind cannot accept this, and we don't want repeat of this kind of massacre in this world again. And there is a gross negligence from the European Union, and due to some research finding and also comments from the participant, could be a agenda as well to wipe out all Muslims and Muslim identity. Of course, this demands more research, and we are not concluding about this from our talk show. And also, as Muslims, as our viewers, majority of them are Muslim now, we have to stand firm with our own identity. We have to work for real life. We have to understand the real life, and we have to build our own strength, because no one is coming and giving you the power. So these are the findings from here today in this live talk show. The guests, those who participated, I'm extremely grateful to them for their thoughtful contributions, and also the viewers and listeners. I'm very glad with you, because you are spending time and watching this program. If you like this program, please share with your friends and family to be benefited, and also subscribe our YouTube channels, London Islamic Research Academy. Having said that, I would like to say goodbye and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you.
London Islamic